and we're talking about, money that I guarantee you 99% of producers weren't getting. I hope everybody signs up because they're going to have money for you.
We've been fine for the last 12 years.
Right. Absolutely.
All right, what's going down? It's the Music Entrepreneur Club. My name is DJ Payne One. I'm here with Dame Ritter and, of course, the man himself, Sis, a.k.a. Two Gun Sis, a.k.a. a whole bunch of other various names that sound way cooler than DJ Payne One. How are you feeling, sir?
I'm good. Currently, I am the assistant vice principal, so, of homeschool. So that's my new title. You know what I'm saying?
Are you adhering to the Common Core standards?
Absolutely. The Common Core standards in my household.
You do have hella titles in your Twitter bio. Do you want to let people know like all the things that you do?
Man, over the last 15 years, I picked up quite a few hobbies, a lot of hyphenates. First of all, I'm an artist. Started out as a rapper. Moved into the producer space, working with my partner Jay Hatch. We did the iStandard thing for 15 years. I own a distribution company called Gangaroo Records right now. Full distribution, whatever TuneCore or any of those cats could do, I could do. Just also co-host of the Chopping Block podcast, the music and lifestyle podcast. And just, a guy out here in the streets, man, just trying to advocate for the creative.
And you have a beautiful sunroom. So this is the Music Entrepreneur Club that's powered by BeatStars. So we really do focus on the producer community. You've done a ton of work with the producer community. And it's interesting, too, because you started out as a solo rapper. And your trajectory in the music business has changed quite a bit. I feel like a lot of people are inflexible when it comes to, because with you transitioned over because that was an opportunity that just happened. You know what I mean?
Right.
It wasn't something you planned on doing. And I see a lot of people who are really rigid in their original plan. And I was the same way. And that level of rigidity can really hold somebody back, because if there's a good opportunity presented to them and they're just so stuck on what they originally thought they were meant to do, they're ignoring their destiny. They could be ignoring their destiny.
Absolutely. I was just happy to be in the music space. So however I could be a part of it, like being a rapper in Philly is not different than being a rapper in Madison, right? Because it's not New York, it's not LA, it's not Atlanta, you know what I'm saying? So you got to move around. So once I got to New York and I found the actual music business, I just wanted to stay in the room. So it was literally like whatever I could do to help is what I did. So,
do you still rap at all?
Absolutely. I actually just dropped a single on my birthday called Rings with my man Nico the Beast and Doughboy Philly. I maintain all my skill sets. I still write songs. I still stay creative. I feel like for me to be out here talking to people about the creative space, just for me, and like I said, this is not for everybody else, but from the standpoint I came from, like, Payne One mentioned, it is as a creative. My standpoint will always be that of a creative. Everything else is just kind of like around my creativeness. So I stay up on music. I stay relevant. I stay active in the music space. It's just something that I feel like I got to do. So
wait, who produced that single?
Cardiac.
Okay, shout out to Cardiac.
I mean, there's so many, and hopefully that's what, people that listen to this podcast and that tap into our live sessions. It's not that I'm trying to discourage you from making music, but I'm trying to, show you that there's a lot of other things that you can do, within the music space that maybe you didn't even know existed, or maybe can complement, or maybe can pay the bills until your music pays the bills.
Oh man.
There's a lot of opportunity out there. And then just the willingness to pivot, I think, is something that all successful entrepreneurs need to do, and to be able to kind of pivot and capitalize on different opportunities and move quickly. I think that's something that most entrepreneurs have to do in order to be successful.
Absolutely. And you also have to be of service. You know what I'm saying? So let's say, I approach you, Dame. I come into your space and, hopefully I've done my homework. I know who you are. I know what you've done. I know what accomplishments you have and what you need. Right. So if I came into your space and I was just like, yo, man, look, I rap and this is what I need from you, I really wouldn't get much out of you. You know what I'm saying? Now, if I came to you and I said, look, how can I be of service? What do you need? You know what I'm saying? That's how you get the opportunities in music. I know way too many folks who got into music doing the thing that needed to be done at the time, just being useful. Like my man V12, he became an engineer for DJ Drama. He didn't even know how to use Pro Tools, but he lied and said he did, learned it. He had just moved from Grand Rapids. He was homeless in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? Got the studio to work out of, start doing all the gangster grills, and got a production career out of it, the one that he was actually looking for. But he didn't come and say, yo, you know what? This is what I do, and if this is not what you're going to have me do, I can't mess with you. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of cats lose out because they're not flexible. But I learned that from the OGs. Like, you just got to be of use. You know what I'm saying? You already got your thing in motion. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to stop your train. I'm trying to roll with your train. So it's like, hey, cool. How can I, get whatever you got going on? It's a much easier path.
And then a lot of cats think that, like, okay, I'm an artist, you're a producer, we're a perfect match. Or I'm an artist, you're a manager, we're a perfect match. Nah, he's talking about that next level of research. There's levels to this, in every industry, in every position, just because you're an artist, and I used to manage music artists. But just because you're an artist and I'm a man doesn't mean I'm looking for artists right now. Doesn't mean I'm looking for artists like you. Doesn't mean I'm looking for artists on your level. So you have to do that next level of research to be of value and to show that you can be of use to the person that, you're reaching out to. Because cats will be like, look, I make beats. You're a rapper. Of course we should work together. Like,
I got a great DM this morning. It was anytime I see a DM that's like longer than 2 or 3 sentences, my brain automatically goes into fight or flight mode, and it's usually flight. But this time I think I read most of it, and it was I'm not going to read it, but it was something to the effect of, I rap, let's start a movement. It was basically every how can I get a free beat from you cliche thrown into one email. And then it said, send me some beats, I'll put you on. And then the follow-up message was put me on. So this is kind of what, you laugh, but I know and both of you are snickering. I know both of you have a DM full of stuff just like that. I know I'm not the only one. This is,
one of my other gigs is, I do like some A&R work on the side for my homegirl, Dina Marto. And so we get all the Clout Chase emails. That's literally my Clout Chase email box for rappers. And it's kind of why I jumped out of the working with rappers directly space. The producers have their own thing, but it's a lot less of what what you're talking about. Well, now it's kind of in that space, but so the 12 email box, 12 music group email box, we get stuff for T.I., hey, I wrote a song for T.I., hey, can you give this to Rick Ross? Like anybody who's associated with 12 or Dino, whatever.
Wait, can you give stuff to Rick Ross? Because I have a whole computer full of Rick Ross album worthy.
I actually can.
Okay. We'll talk about this.
Yeah. He's working right now. So.
Oh, yes. This is perfect timing.
Yeah.
Other people are gonna hear this and be like, "Oh, then I can get stuff to Rick Ross." Like, no.
I had to try. I've known Sis for 12 years.
But
let's just make that clear.
But that's the piece that they're not gonna realize. They're like, this is a decade plus, relationship,
right?
They can do that. It's not for you to, pitch ideas to people because the same thing happens with. So I manage a comedian named Big Ja. And, he does sketches that do really well. People, same thing. That obviously it's not just music. It's people that DM like, hey, put me in a sketch. Hey, here's a sketch idea. Use this. It's like no, Ja's now sitting on probably 500 sketches. The people reaching out have probably never even put together their own one. Right. It's like, no, you need to start. And when you get to 500, start reaching out to people, asking, if you were able to build momentum, then you can, start reaching out and pitching ideas.
Absolutely. And this is why I don't go. This is why I don't go on my friends' Instagram lives when they're making beats. I can imagine myself being the Pain Ones, Instagram live, and we're like hanging out, and he's working, and some guys like, put a hi-hat on that, do this, do that. Like, come on, bro. Like, let that man cook.
Well, if you making beats live, you putting yourself out there for that.
You're fair game.
No, it's way worse. I'm cool with the hi-hat suggestions because I can just kind of either take it or leave it. It's usually way worse. I feel like the producer community is in a weird renaissance right now where, maybe independent rap was 15 years ago. My timeline's probably off, but I think that, just looking around where we are, you started, I wish I had been recording this off camera where you said, producers weren't paying attention to something that they should have been paying attention to before the pandemic with the Music Modernization Act. And I don't feel like the Renaissance is all that inclusive in the sense that most producers aren't really taking advantage of it. It's just kind of a renaissance of partial awareness where like producers know something's going on, but they're not taking that next step to really figure out what's going on. And there's so much going on. I mean, you have producer collectives putting out commercially successful albums. You have the Music Modernization Act. You have Kanye West leaking his major label contracts. You have all types of stuff going on, and a really small minority of producers understand enough to not just contribute white noise to the conversation. And
right.
It's different because there's so much more information out there and because the spotlight is on producers the same way it was, I think, on rappers 15 years ago or so. But much like recording artists, only a few of us are fully going to realize our own potential and do so by learning everything we can about the music business that we claim to love and want to be in.
And that's the sad part because, we had to really, to get the information that we got, we had to travel. We had to spend money. Like, I started out dumping a whole bunch of money on plane tickets, bus tickets, train tickets, flying to LA, flying to Phoenix, going to this conference, to that conference. Like, we had to search for people who were willing to tell us what was going on. I started out going to the Shaw Money one-stop shops. I went to all three of them. I actually got to end up working on them. But, man, the amount of information that we had to go get, let's say it was 800 people each time, 800 producers who came from all over the world, right? You got 1 million producers now, and all the information is right there on your timeline. It's right there on the internet. You just Google something, set up a little RSS feed that says music business, and then you got it all in your inbox, right? And they still don't do it. And it's so baffling. It's so baffling because, I remember sitting and watching Wendy Day talk, and I'm just soaking up game, sitting in a conference room with a notepad, looking like a whole nerd, just, taking notes and everything. Even coast to coast conventions, just being there, like meeting people and trying to get everything together, man. And these kids, they have it right here, all the information. And you try to steer it to them and somehow they still still go the wrong way. And I don't get it, but you said it right. There's only going to be a small percentage of folks right now or at a time who get it. I guess everybody has their moment when that light bulb clicks, but, even just trying to give people information, like having done an event and, it was bigger than any showcase because we did a lot of free events, a lot of free, hey, here's a lawyer, we're in your city, here's a lawyer, come out and listen to this lawyer tell you about how to make money while you sleep. Or here's a platinum producer, and he's just going to come have a conversation. We're at the music school, sign up for free. Like, you couldn't even get people to come to that. We put together some of the most mind-blowing events, and it was a struggle to get people to come out, for $100
Yeah.
You know?
And I don't want to vent, but you know, Dame and I did the BeatStars Summit, both of them, and that was free. You can just click a link. You don't even have to download an app or anything.
Right.
And similar format. I mean, I look at it because I came up under all of the conferences that you just mentioned. So I'm trying to give back as much as I learned, and I know Dame is too. So we had lawyers on. We had shout out to Abe for pulling this one. We had Young Guru on talking about exactly how producers should deliver files to engineers, what kind of equipment they could use to record vocals in untreated rooms, just all of the information that producers can use right now on the creative side, on the business side, just on the logistics side. And you go on YouTube and, you know, what are the most viewed producer videos? It's like, this is me making a beat with my dick. Like, it's just like, come on, man.
I used to look at your content and I said, all of Pain One's really great content does not have the views.
No.
No, I'm like, this stuff is gold, dog. We're talking about, you said Young Guru, right? The first time I met Young Guru, man, I almost peed on myself because this man is a legend. Like, literally, there's a few folks who, when I met, you know, I'm just like, yo, that is a legendary dude who's been in legendary positions with some of the greatest artists of all time. And he's still there.
All time.
You know what I'm saying? He's a part of a circle of success, period, that if you could even get a gem from that man, it's worth its weight in gold. And somehow folks don't understand that. Even if you go look at who's getting the followers, right? All the people who actually know what they're talking about online don't have all the followers, right? The people that are dropping game, that are giving away free jewels on Twitter and on Instagram, they don't have the following. Unless you got like a cute little branding, you know, you got some butt naked chicks doing twerk sessions, you know, you just not, or if you're beefing and arguing with people, unless you got some negativity or some, you know, talking about some crazy stuff to go along with your marketing, is just, it's not going to reach the people who you think need it the most. I could care less if random people pay attention to what we have to say. But our community, the people that we're trying to help, the unsigned artists, the unsigned producers, you know, the people that really need this information, they go down the wrong rabbit holes. And it's just, you know, after a while, you learn that's just kind of how it is, and you just say, you know what, I'm gonna help who I can. You know, at this point, I'm gonna help the folks that I can and not worry about it. And I've been able to do that and be impactful. Like, you can be impactful. I don't need 8 billion followers.
Yep.
You know, I've impacted music. I've put people in positions. I've helped people feed their families, and that's important to me. But ultimately, I've helped those people help people. And there's a tree that's going to grow out of the work that I've done, out of the work that you guys have done, and that's important. You know,
yeah, you're going to help me produce like 5 Rick Ross albums.
Hey, why not?
Well, I think the challenge, I think, is, you know, because I think this instant gratification, like, people expect to hear something and put it in place and, you know, get 1 million views the next day, when it doesn't. Real information doesn't work like that. So I think that sometimes some of these young folks are gravitating towards these ClickFunnels pages, these salesy stuff, because it's promising you success next week. As opposed to what we're saying is, like, you know, it's a process, and you're going to have to build over time. And, you know, for some people, it does happen sooner rather than later, but that's typically not the story for 99% of people. And that's not, you know, that's not the stuff that's going to get clicked on. It's the stuff, learn how to get $20,000 sync placements next month. You know, I've done it myself. Let me show you how to do it. And it's like, you know, but like you said, I'm in the same space. Like, look, we don't, you know, neither, and we say this all the time, but like, neither Payne or myself pay our bills. I mean, yes, we get a little bit of money from BeatStars to run this, and we're thankful for that, you know, but neither one of us depend on the MEC to pay our bills. This is a passion project. So I'm in the same space as you in terms of, look, we're going to help the people that listen and they rock with us. If you don't, all good. You know, we have fun doing this. We have fun talking to folks like you on the podcast and doing our live sessions. And it's a way for me to continue to network and to stay up on what's happening in the music industry like the Music Modernization Act. So and I did want to talk to you about that because you seem pretty well versed. It's something that I think I only saw like Ari Herstand talk about it at the time. So I was familiar, but can you talk a little bit about what the Music Modernization Act is and how it might affect up and coming artists and producers?
Absolutely. So the Music Modernization Act is an act that passed, I'd say, I think it went into law in October of 2018. And the purpose was to modernize copyright related issues, basically in the music and audio recording space, right? Because the laws that we're currently under were written God knows how long ago, the 1900s, maybe even earlier than that. So it wasn't written in, a world where digital streaming existed or anything like that, right? So it had a couple portions. One is the Music Modernization Act, and then two is the Classics Act. And that act said basically anything that happened before 1972 was not covered under federal copyright law. So that meant the states had to pass laws for recording protection on that. So anything that happened prior to 1972, each state is basically liable for whatever the rules are that govern that recording. And then the third one is the AMP Act, which is the Allocation for Music Producers Act. And that bill designates that Sound Exchange distributes royalties on sound recordings. And they also, so Sound Exchange distributes what they call neighboring rights in other countries. And they distribute parts of those royalties to a producer, mixer, or sound engineer who was part of the process. Before that, Sound Exchange wasn't paying out to producers. You had to get, and you still have to get it, but this made it official. You just got to get a letter of direction. But now it is officially Sound Exchange's job to pay producers. So,
which is still frustrating for a producer because how many times are we getting letters of directions?
Right. Yeah. So that's a whole nother thing that bothers me to no end with the LOD. So yeah, basically you got these laws. We're trying to modernize the rules because streaming didn't exist. We're trying to reform the rate court. So now there's a single rate court judge for each PRO. And the different judges randomly get assigned to each rate setting proceeding. So rate setting as in setting the statutory rate for mechanicals. It's a bunch of, like, it's a big law. But those were kind of like some of the highlights.
Because it hasn't changed. The statutory mechanical rate hasn't changed since like the 60s or 70s.
Yeah, it's been a really long time. So
yeah, and that's part of the reason why streaming rates are so low, because they're taking into account all the different royalties that are paid out.
And it's also why, if you look at other countries, their streaming rates are way higher than ours.
Yeah. So yeah, some are like Scandinavia is pretty high, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I make way more money off of stuff that I've done, off of like sync licenses and things that I've done in international royalties. When I look at my statements, it's mostly international royalties.
So the mechanical rate is, I mean, it's 9.1 cents, but what is it on streaming at the moment? Because 9.1 cents.
It's literally whatever. Like, it's whatever they make it. It's whatever they make it. Another thing that this they did was they set up a system to collect mechanical royalties for people so that you don't have to go through Harry Fox. Because Harry Fox was pretty much the sole collector. And then you also got music reports. But now there's like a government body called the MLC. And the MLC is actually going to collect royalties. You sign up for the MLC for free. So now if you didn't, and we're talking about, money that I guarantee you 99% of producers weren't getting. It's called the Mechanical Licensing Collective. And it's free. And I hope everybody signs up because they're going to have money for you. Because another big issue was they were trying to figure out what to do with all this black box money. And black box money is literally money that they didn't know whose it was, or it was caught up in disputes and it all went into a box. Or literally escrow accounts. And in the urban community, that is said to be around $4 billion.
So there are $4 billion that producers and rappers could claim right now.
Right. And what happens is, if they don't, then it goes to the highest earners.
It goes to Drake and Taylor Swift.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
You just mentioned you said the MLC. Is that
yes.
for producers, artists, all of the above?
The Mechanical Licensing Collective is for any creative. Yeah.
Okay. Right.
So it's a publicly accessible database, and it has all the information relating to music works and their owners. Because the problem's been, I don't know, somebody made this song and there's a producer on it and only one person signed up, and we don't know whose this is, because there's no uniformity across all these systems. Right. BMI has their system, and ASCAP's got their system, CSAC's got their system, and Harry Fox has theirs, and Sound Exchange has theirs, and RIAA has theirs, and Nielsen has theirs. And there's no uniformity in metadata. There's no uniformity in the collection. Even when you go, let's say you go to DistroKid and you fill out your forms, it's completely different if you go to TuneCore and you fill out the same thing. That's why when you go look at the credits, if people even look at them anymore, when you go look, you don't even see the same titles because they don't ask for the same information. There's no like one set form, like producer, composer, lyricist. Like some of them have different names, it's just, so it's a big mess. And the job of the MLC is to bring all these things into one place and make sure that people get their money. So it's completely free to sign up.
Is that a government initiative?
It is a initiative that the government has sponsored, meaning they put funds into it.
So like Sound Exchange.
But it's literally run by the PROs. So, but it's run by all the agencies that represent. It's like, hey, we're going to get together and put this together with the Copyright Office. So
I Googled this, but to take it with a grain of salt, but the current statutory rate for mechanicals is still 9.1 cents. It's been like that forever. And that's for a recording that's under 5 minutes. But for a stream, somehow it's apparently, according to a Medium article that sourced this information from Royalty Exchange, it's 0.06 cents per 100 streams, because obviously mechanical royalties refer to physical copies of music, and there's nothing physical about a stream, so they retrofit mechanicals to fit into the new streaming landscape. And of course they reduce the rate because streams are now partially they're partial everything, partial album sales, partial mechanicals. So it's a mess, and a lot of people don't understand that. And I think a lot of people think there's something called a streaming royalty. There's no streaming royalty. A streaming royalty is a bunch of different royalties mashed together.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. Like, it's like, okay, I put my song out on a platform. Let's say I'm the artist, I'm the producer. Who do I sign up with to get paid, first of all, right? Because most people they're like, oh, okay, I got my PRO. And that's cool. And that's why companies like Songtrust or any other pub admin companies are dope, because they start to collect those other things.
Like, I got to just shout out BeatStars, Sony ATV publishing situation. So they do the same thing, and
that's huge.
They collect.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh yeah. First of all, big shout out to Abe. Shout out to my guy Mike Trampy. Good folks, man. Everybody at BeatStars always been super dope. It's an amazing platform. Information, man, that's what we all here for. Try to get this information out. But if you're an independent, you're just trying to figure out, like, how do I get my money? If you're not signed up for Harry Fox, if you're not signed up for Music Reports, you're not getting paid. Like, you literally, when you go into these backends, you sign up and they're free. You opt in to licensing, all kind of licensing agreements with Facebook and, with TikTok and all this stuff. And there's so many opportunities and ways to get your money. You're not collecting your money if you're just signed up with a PRO, because that only handles one particular royalty. You know what I'm saying? So most people will get that one performance royalty, and then they'll get whatever their sales are. And that's literally it. if you're a producer, God forbid, because y'all probably didn't do splits. And there's probably no splits in the back end of your distributor, because only a couple of them have that option as a feature, Right. So the producer's waiting for a magical dollar to drop out the sky from the artist, for the sales that are starting to generate, because there's probably no producer agreement if you're an independent. Y'all just did a record, but there's a bunch of stuff that the producer can go sign up for, because producers need to cover their end. You don't have to wait for the artist for a lot of stuff. The LOD, you do, right? You gotta get that. But go register the beat. Register the beat with YouTube. Register all that stuff, man. So if you start collecting your end of the money, just don't overwrite your percentage. You know what I'm saying? If you did 50% or whatever, if you and an artist and y'all came up with some, okay, I did half this, you did half that, then make sure you know what you need to collect on, and the artists need to know what they need to collect on too.
Yeah. And it takes a lot. I mean, I think the biggest myth that so many of us believe is that once the song is out, we're just automatically collecting the money, and we're not collecting money automatically. You have to claim royalties. So, and I've made videos like this before, and this is one of those things that producers still don't get. As you said, if an artist uses your beat, a recording artist uses your beat, puts it out, and they might not even be signed up to a PRO, but maybe that song is generating some royalties. Yeah, you just find the title of that. Find the title of the song, figure out the length of the song, figure out all the metadata that you can, when it was released, any alternate titles, any features, the name of the artist, the name of the album.
And you can go to Sound Exchange and use the ISRC finder.
Yep.
And get the UPC, get all the information, and start to piece where your money is, where your portion is. And if the artist's not collecting their money, then sorry for them, but you can get yours.
So if you had to list out just and we've done it. I think we've had a video about this, but just so an artist can hear, or a producer can hear this and say, okay, what are all of the things I need to be signed up with to make sure that I collect all of my royalties? What would your list look like?
So you absolutely need to be signed up with a PRO. That's absolute. First of all, distribute your music through a distributor, obviously. Be signed up with a PRO. I would heavily suggest YouTube collection of some sort, which you can achieve through several entities, because a lot of people don't realize that's completely different licenses on that side too. And then you need to have some kind of publishing entity to collect your publishing. And then you have to sign up for Harry Fox. You have to, no matter whether we like it or not. Harry Fox runs the majority of the situations on the mechanical royalty in the United States. And then they can also help you collect it worldwide. And then music reports as well. So if you have those, you will collect the majority of your money.
So, cool. In that Music Modernization Act, they probably should have put something in there to say, hey, we need to revisit this at least every couple of years, because the music industry changes so fast. The fact that the Music Modernization Act happened in 2018 and probably nothing had happened prior to that forever. Given how fast the music industry moves, changes, and evolves, by the time they get all this shit situated, it's going to be the landscape is going to look totally different. It might be a bunch of new revenue streams and royalties. So they're always going to be playing catch up.
But one of the big problems is we're all looking to the record labels to take care of us. So, and that's kind of a thing where, 15 years ago, or I'd say 2008 and before, I'd say 2008 and before, the record labels handled everything, right? Because there was a budget, and that budget paid everybody. It paid the pizza guy. It paid the studio. It paid, everybody. If I wanted a beat from Pain One, here's $500 to come to the studio to play some beats. Diamond D gave me that one. He said, I used to get paid. I said I got paid to come to the studio to play beats, because it was in the budget. So if said artist had $1 million budget for this record, or we've seen with Kanye West. Kanye West has opened up several large budgets for his projects where he flew people I know out to places like Australia, to record, or Hawaii or whatever. Jay-Z does the same thing, and a lot of artists do. That's all in a budget, right? So that budget paid for everybody. Nobody had to worry about the upfront fee, right? Because that was already written into the budget. Here's the money for producers. Here's the money for features. Here's the money for recordings. So the engineers were taken care of. The problem with that is we didn't realize that our actual issue is we're not connected with our property, with our sound recording. The sound recording is it, right? The ownership of the sound recording, the exploitation of the sound recording, that's where the money's generated. So now that we don't have that strong label structure that we can all feed on, it's like, okay, now we're it's our parents, and now we're 18, we're grown up, we got kicked out the house, right? So now you got to realize that we got to go to Congress ourselves. We have to lobby, our Congress, just like we do for anything else. You got to talk to because they make laws. Laws actually govern music also. You know what I'm saying? It's literally the same thing as if, you got a pothole, right? You got a pothole and you're like, man, I got to call, the street department. I got to call, the government and say, hey, this needs to get fixed. We as creators need to come together and say, hey, this rate needs to get fixed. Things are different. This is not fair. We shouldn't have to have a letter of direction from an artist who, because they don't know, they don't realize like the little micro problems that we have. Like, man, artists, they'll just come take my beat and go make a song with it. They don't think about that stuff because we're not really lobbying them, but that's the one thing that we have to do. We have to take ownership of our music. We have to take ownership of our situations, because there's no label out there anymore that's going to take care of us. And we're starting to see what that looks like, because now it's the conversation. The conversation is about the fact that, oh crap, the label's not around anymore to take care of us. That's directly what all these issues are stemming from, because everybody was cool, So now we're realizing that independent is not just a thing. Like, it's the thing. Like, we're all independent out here now. And we got to figure it out, whether it's Kanye West saying I'm independent, or whether it's a small artist or a small producer saying they're independent. You have to take ownership. You have to figure out where your money is, just like anything else.
Well, speaking of Kanye, do you have, obviously he's been in the news a lot, and I think Payne mentioned earlier, exposing his contracts and saying what he's saying. Do you have any thoughts or opinions on his most recent antics?
So Kanye's an interesting person, as we all know. I am very Kanye adjacent. I know a lot of folks in Kanye's direct camp. Me and Kanye have the same barber. I know producers who worked with him, songwriters, people who've been flown out to all these different places to work. Kanye, as an artist, is somebody who I respect. He's got his issues, he goes off the rails. But two things stuck out to me. One, he's absolutely right about what conclusions he drew. The irony, though, is Kanye wasn't treating his people right. So that's the part that stood out to me, and if it was, and you saw the conversation with Hit Boy, but Hit Boy's not the only one. He's the only one that spoke up. I guarantee you, I know at least 2 or 3 other people that were in that same boat. And that's fine, because a lot of people treat this music business like a business, and it's not all we're friends and fun and games and, until you stab me in the back. Some people treat it like a business transaction. And they expected to be a little cutthroat, and those folks got paid and they went about their business. But a lot of people around Kanye, he's a cash cow. You know what I'm saying? He's the generator of the income. So I think it's dope that he realized that he was being a shitty human being, just like everybody else. And maybe he didn't know. It's kind of the same conversation. I don't know if you guys saw Chasing Cash give a very, very extensive breakdown of that Hit Boy situation and the situation with him and Polo the Don, who's another person who helped take advantage of artists. My big thing with Kanye's absolutely right about every conclusion he drew, right? I'm glad you've come to this conclusion finally, because some of us have been fighting this fight forever. And if it takes somebody with his clout to bring the conversation to the grander stage, then so be it. If it benefits us all, I'm completely here for it. But we got to have a conversation as creatives and do better by each other. And we have to expect better from these folks that work at these labels, especially these black folks that work at these labels, who have been leading us to slaughter for years. And then when artists and producers get bigger situations and go sign younger artists and producers and, do whatever they will with them, it's not always a good situation. So Kanye he's the realest example of the way shit really goes. It's sporadic. It's all over the place. But once again, I don't want anybody to discount the conclusion that he drew, because it's absolutely 1,000% the way we need to be going.
Right. Nah, I agree. I just think he's like you say, he's just the wrong person to, because I don't know how true this is, but even on the little Breakfast Club rumor report yesterday, it was talking like Charlamagne was saying how Kanye still owes Big Sean like $3 million.
Oh, listen, believe all that stuff. And that's, like I said, when people get to that level, they get to that level because they don't pay people.
Right.
People like Diddy are famous for not paying people. I had one of my OGs was marketing director for Sean John. And he would talk about how people would just call demanding payment because this dude would take out ads with no intention of paying you ever. You know what I'm saying? And that's just, look at Baby. Like, it's just literally like, you did that, I'm not paying you. And I mean, I don't know. I don't get it. I've never had that access to that type of money, though. So, maybe the air is different up there.
Right. Yeah, no, it's unfortunate. To me, I don't feel like Kanye's really in the music business like that anymore. I feel like, most of his money comes elsewhere.
Absolutely.
So it's almost like, all right, this cat just kind of wants attention because the attention is more valuable to him probably than the masters. So maybe he does give him 50% of his 50% of the masters back. But it's really just self-serving at the end of the day because it's just more marketing and promotion for
it's absolutely self-serving. That's absolutely.
For what he's really selling is, shoes and clothes and all that shit. So I can't. I need to mute Kanye. I don't follow Kanye, but when he, obviously when he gets going, everybody sees it.
Right. And so I don't know if you use Google Chrome. There's an extension called Snoozier.
Oh, really?
Literally called Snoozier. I actually had it for a bit, but the hard part is it's such a when you're snoozing or you're not trying to see somebody and everybody's talking about that person, it starts to look weird because you're like missing a piece of a conversation. Like this tweet is not available. I'm just like, shit, that must be Kanye again. Yeah. And then eventually, the news, once it gets into the bigger news, it kind of pops up. I think it takes people like us to separate these things and let people know the part that they really need to fixate on. Mm-hmm. And, like I said, the tabloids are going to fixate on the sensational stuff. But the part that we as creatives should gravitate to, we should look at the contracts. We should see this is information. This is legit. This is like a class, man. This is as real as it gets, to be able to comb through this stuff and really see what happens on these contracts. And Kanye re-upped a lot. So it wasn't like he was dumb. He made a lot of money. He spent a lot of the label's money, so I understand him wanting to have ownership for perpetuity and all that kind of stuff, because that's a big thing. But we should take that from it, just kind of say, okay, you kind of remove the Kanye from it, you know what I'm saying, but still take the issue and kind of sit it to the side, because Kanye is a circus to himself. And I've over the years gotten tired of it. Like I said, because I know a lot of good folks who have been caught up in that circus, and I don't like it. It's not personal to Kanye. It's just I've seen some good folks go in there and get spit up and spit out, shoot up and spit out. So that's my personal thing. personally, I don't have an opinion on Kanye. You know what I'm saying? My opinion is as a creative, and if I see some bullshit, I just kind of walk the other way. So, but I definitely want to take out the music part and the part that's important, so that people who don't know, we're translators. You know what I'm saying? We're like translators for cats who don't know better. And sometimes we gotta wade into the water and take out the good part. So that's pretty much where I'm at with Kanye.
So if people want those translation services, how do they follow you? And because that is what you do a lot of the times. I'm seeing on your timeline, on your Facebook. Maybe don't give out your personal Facebook, but what's the Twitter handle?
It's Scissor215 on everything. That's CI 2 Z's URP 215 on everything.
Dame, how do people follow you?
Dame.mec on Instagram, Dame_MEC on Twitter. My Twitter game has always been so terrible. Twitter has been the hardest platform for me to keep up with. And what I find is Twitter just encourages my negative posts. It's like my rant. It's like anytime I have something to rant about, it's like Twitter's for that. So when I go back through my timeline, it's like, damn, I didn't say anything positive for a week.
Like the angry old man.
But I need to get better on Twitter. But and I don't even really post to my personal Instagram anymore. But I'm there. I'm active. I'm more active on the MEC Instagram.
That is at Music Entrepreneur Club on Instagram. Tons of good information and clips from this podcast that people totally take out of context and wonder why they're not learning more. So we'll be back next week, same time, same place. Thank you, Sis, for joining us and sharing that information. This is the Music Entrepreneur Club podcast powered by BeatStars, beatstars.world, musicentrepreneurclub.com. What's the number to text so that the next time we go live on one of our free music business entrepreneur mentorship programs, they can tune in for free?
All you need to do is text MEC to 844-206-7800. You get an alert. We try to make this as easy as possible for you to learn what you need to learn so that you can avoid all the bullshit in the music industry. No excuses.
And also, real quick, man, I got to shout out my team, Bounce Gang, BOUNCEGVNG. We got some amazing things coming for creatives. We look to hopefully get something going with you guys, and we just trying to work with everybody, man. We trying to bring this collective together, give away information, and build careers. We're trying to build careers, man. I've been lucky enough to not have to work since 2007, man, at a traditional job. So I want that to be for everybody.
Dope.
Cool. This is a very awkward end to a long podcast episode. Peace, everyone. I was going to hit stop now.
Peace.